Thank you, President Biden and Vice President Harris, for your powerful, principled, and purposeful public service. Thank you. 2 months ago, the American people elected Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States of America. It's okay. There are no election deniers on our side of the aisle. You see, one should love America. One should love America when you win and when you lose. That's the patriotic thing to do, and that's the America that House Democrats will fight hard to preserve because we love this country.
The first few days of Donald Trump's new administration have been disappointing, disgraceful, and honestly, they've just been a disaster. It's been filled with anger, betrayal, lies about Donald Trump's campaign, promises, lies about the effectiveness of the nonsensical executive orders that he is passing, and those lies desperately need to be called out. And thankfully, they were by Hakeem Jeff, who is not just pointing out the failures of the first few days of this Trump administration, but making clear what will be true for the rest of Donald Trump's administration, which is that his not-so-secret plan in Project 2025, the one that he said wasn't happening, yes, it is, and it needs more attention than ever. And Hakeem Jeffrey was calling all of that out in a takedown that we are going to check out. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really means the world to me. Now, Hakeem Jeffrey covered a couple of topics in this press conference. He gave calling out Donald Trump, but the one that I first want to start with is him slamming Donald Trump's ridiculous attacks about DE.
It's not my understanding, based on anything that I've seen, that support for diversity, equity, and inclusion had anything to do with the results in November. The results in November had everything to do with the high cost of living in the United States of America. And that should be everyone's takeaway, along with the importance of working together to secure the border. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are American values. Perhaps I can explain. The motto of the United States of America is E pluribus unum, out of many, one. That's diversity. The 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution, one of the most important amendments in our country, provides equal protection under the law. That's equity. In this country, we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, a flag that we just presented to the new president and vice president. And in that pledge, we promise one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. ALL. That's inclusion. Not complicated. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are American values. It's about economic opportunity. It's about merit for everyone, based on what you know, not who you know. Thank you, everyone. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are American values. It's about economic opportunity for everyone. We support merit for everyone, based on what you know, not who you know. The problem that seems to be unfolding is that there are some in this country who want an America of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires. Not for working class Americans, middle class Americans, or everyday Americans, a country of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are about economic opportunity for everyone, even if you're not wealthy, well-off, or well-connected. These are values that everybody in this country should embrace. And we're going to take this issue, working with the civil rights groups, head on.
I don't know what leg Donald Trump thinks he has to stand on in terms of talking about equity and qualifications and a meritocracy when he is handing out cabinet appointments to Fox Weekend host, a conspiracy theorist, and his own lackeys. I don't know where Donald Trump thinks he's coming from. No, of course. The bedrock of MAGA is shamelessness. You know, you throw a little bit of hypocrisy in there, a lot of lies. You stir that up, and you got MAGA for you. So Donald Trump doesn't really care, but I think what Hakeem Jeffrey had to say is so especially perfect when we compare it to how Donald Trump's administration is operating, one that is completely based on favors and appealing to Trump. It's really transactional in nature. And so, absolutely, they are lying in their fear-mongering about hating DE. Because let's take a look at the administration. And when we say take a look at the administration, let's also take a look at what went into making it Project 2025, which is what a Jeffrey called out right here.
Here's my assessment of what happened with respect to Project 2025. Last year, Republicans across the country lied to the American people by claiming that they knew nothing about Project 2025 and have spent the first few weeks of this year implementing Project 2025. They were not truthful with the American people. And with respect to the high cost of living, the inverse has happened. Last year, Republicans spent an excessive amount of time promising to lower the high cost of living for everyday Americans, promising to lower housing costs, lower grocery costs, lower insurance costs, lower child care costs, and lower utility costs, but this year have done nothing about it. In fact, they're proposing the exact opposite. The House Republican Contract Against America will raise costs on everyday Americans. How dare they even contemplate eliminating the mortgage interest deduction? That's a missile aimed directly at the financial heart of working class Americans and middle class Americans. We're going to make sure consistently and authentically that we hold Republicans accountable, particularly here in the House of Representatives, when they were running away from Project 2025 and acting like it didn't exist, and now they've fallen in line as it relates to full implementation of the extreme Project 2025 agenda.
I wish I didn't have to. I wish it was, I told you how great VP Harris was going to be as president. Now she is. That would have been a lot more fun to say, but it's I told you, so we told you. So we all knew Project 2025 as much as Donald Trump tried to distance himself from it. And every time he did, it really just made it clear that was going to be his plan, is his administration. It is the bedrock for everything that Donald Trump is doing and all of the disastrous decisions that will follow for the rest of this administration. And of course, at the top of that list, well, actually, the top of the list is making sure Donald Trump is happy at all times. But below that, there's someone else. We have to serve another small group, the ultra wealthy. And that is what Donald Trump's next plan is all about, with a tax scan that was called out by Hakeem Jeffrey.
I've not had any communication with the president or the incoming administration on the issue of the GOP tax scam. Here's what we know. This document, the Republican Contract Against America, the reason why it exists, the reason why there are so many extreme cuts in the GOP contract against America, including ending Medicaid as we know it, eliminating the mortgage interest deduction, and slashing and burning the Affordable Care Act, is because extreme MAGA Republicans in the House who put out this document want to enact massive tax cuts for billionaires and wealthy corporations and stick working class Americans with the bill. We're not down with that approach. Can I say it any clearer?
Donald Trump's administration, as we all know, will be solely dedicated to serving the ultra-wealthy. They make up his administration, literally. His cabinet is the wealthiest in history. But in the meantime, Donald Trump certainly does want to distract you from paying attention that he doesn't actually care about you and only wants to serve as rich friends. And that's why he's introducing nonsensical executive orders like overturning birthright citizenship, and Hakeem Jeffrey called that out right here.
House Democrats are prepared to work together with our Republican colleagues to find common ground with respect to securing our border, with respect to fixing our broken immigration system in a bipartisan and comprehensive way, and with respect to defending dreamers, farm workers, and keeping families together, which is a high priority throughout the House Democratic Caucus.
Do you reject a bill like this?
I haven't seen the legislation, and so I'm not going to comment on the specifics of the legislation, but we have no plans to support any extreme agenda that the far right wants to jam down the throats of the American people. We've made clear we will work together to secure our borders. We will work together to fix our broken immigration system in a bipartisan and comprehensive way, and we will defend dreamers, farm workers, and families.
Now, this is a weekly press conference that Hakeem Jeffrey is going to be holding, and I think it is important that he continues to drive home this message. I would love to see him not just do it with the regular Capitol Hill press pool, but of course go to different platforms and talk about it. But of course, we are doing all the work we can to help the soon speaker, Hakeem Jeffrey, give it 2 years. This midterms will change that. Make sure he's Speaker Jeffrey. And so we're going to be covering that every single week, his weekly press conference on the show. And if you want to support that and get all the updates, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you're stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And it's until next time. I'll see you soon.